and welcome to a presentation entitled Uman Rosh Hashana. What is it all about? And I'm going to ask you, I'm not going to count, just for a quick show of hands so I get a little bit more of a feel of the audience. If I could ask quickly, for a show of hands, how many people have actually been to Uman? Wow. Okay, and how many for Uman for Rosh Hashana? Okay, about the same. Okay, quite impressive. I want to first say thank you very much to Ari Shaf for arranging this evening and all the details. And I'm also very grateful to the umanflight.com, which is the first time in the history of those who go to Uman each year, making available a straight flight all the way to Kiev and back, right before Yom Tov and right after Yom Tov. And I'm grateful to them for providing the sponsorship for tonight. So I see some of you already familiar with the experience, and those who are not yet or are curious to know why their husbands run away Rosh Hashanah when you already have good Shalom Bayis the rest of the year. Or some of you might just be curious to understand, what is this all to do? Rosh Hashanah, thousands, and now it's becoming tens of thousands. Last year they say it's somewhere between 15 and 17,000 Jews of all walks of life. You have Taimani Jews. We actually have a Taimani minyan in Uman, right next to the Keva, which is also known as the Tzion, the Keva of Rav Nachman of Breslov. You have several Sephardi minyanim, one very large Ashkenazi Hasidic minyan in a building that was built for 6,000 when there were about 1,500 people going, and then the next year it was already too small. The year after it's bursting, and now it's way bursting. It's holding 7,000 to 8,000 people. You have Jews who are professionals, you have business people, laymen, you have Klei Kodesh, Rabbanim, all types of Jews. You have religious Jews, you have Satmar, and you have conservative, reform. There's so many different types of Jews, Gerei Tzedek, that come, that the question really begs, what is going on over here? Is it some sort of a cult? Is it some sort of a gimmick? Maybe it's a money spinner. Obviously, we have to discount comfort as the reason. As any of you have been, you know that each year it's getting better and better. The accommodations are improving drastically, to the extent that now in the shul itself, you may not be familiar, but for those who not yet know about it, there are changing rooms for the 5 mikvahs below the shul, which hold approximately 1,000 people at one time. The accommodations there are incredible. You have a 24-hour Hachnasas Orchim, where you go upstairs opposite the keva. There's a room there which is provided by, I don't remember the name, I think a Sephardi Jew, and there are taps in the wall, and they're all connected to a hot boiling water system, and you have about 20 taps, Bli Guzma. There's a picture over here. There are about 20 taps coming out of the marble tiled wall with hot water, and you have a choice of coffee with sugar, without sugar, tea with sugar, without sugar, and a special enormous vat with its own tap of Chalav Yisrael to your liking. And then there's cakes and cookies, and that's 24 hours around the clock. There is now, I was there just 2 weeks ago to take my youngest son, 6-year-old, and we'll talk about in a few minutes, one of the promises, guarantees that Rav Nachman of Breslov makes, amongst his other extraordinary guarantees, which we will talk about. I brought my son 2 weeks ago with my wife for her first trip ever, and there's a restaurant, sit down, it's crockery with silverware, no disposables, and you have a menu, you choose what you want. There's a markolet downstairs, a grocery, which on Erev Rosh Hashanah, a few days before, is selling almost everything that you need. A pizza store has just been opened up, for those who are not aware of it, on the corner down in Pushkina Street, and opposite is a very large Svarim stall. It must be about 100 feet long, selling different Sfarim that are there. The place is an amazing experience on Rosh Hashana, with tens of thousands of Jews, all walks of life, different levels of religious, cultural, philosophical backgrounds, and yet all coming to do the same thing. To pray. Erev Rosh Hashana Slichas lasts a few hours. Some people say it's more of an inspiration than Rosh Hashana anywhere else. And that's not describing the Rosh Hashana prayers itself. I always pray with the Sfardim, in the small minyan, they call it the 4,000 Sfardim, right by the Keva, as opposed to the larger minyan of 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 in the large shul known as the Klois. So things are moving along over there. But what's the big deal? What is this incredible urge that people want to know about this experience? The inspiration. You go just to Slichas, Erev Rosh Hashana, enormously inspiring. Just to go to Tashlich and see thousands and thousands of shtreimel and white gowns, kittel. It's an amazing event, an amazing sight. But what's it really all about? So I'm going to share with you the history, not so much of Uman Rosh Hashana, I'm going to get to that, the history of the role of the tzaddik in Jewish history. And hopefully, closer to the end of the presentation, the question will beg, if the role of the tzaddik, the righteous individual, has truly been so prominent throughout Jewish history, but somewhat latent, a little bit behind the scenes, less obvious, less in one's face, the question will beg, why isn't it more known about the greatness of tzaddikim after they've passed on? Why isn't it more known about the importance of going to Kivrei tzaddikim, the grave sites of tzaddikim, if it really is such a big inyan? And then what we have to focus on is what's this with Uman and Rav Nachman of Breslov. So when we talk about the role of the tzaddik, I want to share with you the following. The Torah gives us Taryag mitzvahs, 613 mitzvahs. One of them, we find in Parshas Eikev, we just learnt it last week, in Perek Yud, Pasuk Chaf. Ubai Tidbak. In reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in Him we should cleave. Modern Hebrew, Devek is glue. Cleave to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara asks, how do you cleave to Hashem? Hashem has no physical entity that we are able to physically attach to. So what is the meaning of the verse, cleave, attach yourself to Hashem? So Chazal tell us it means ledabik b'yodav. Cleave, attach oneself to those who know Him. I will share with you the psak of the Rambam. Maimonides is on this in Hilchas Deis, Perek Hey, Halacha Aleph. Derech Briyasai, very famous Rambam. Derech Briyasai Shaladam Liyos Nimshach Medeyosav B'Masav. A person is drawn by his peers and they affect his mindset, their actions, Achareya V'Chaverav Hanoya Kaminhag Anshe Medinasai, according to the cultural surroundings, the values that a person is surrounded by. Lefikach, therefore, Sarech Adam Nischaber Latzadikim. This is unusual lashon for the Rambam. I'll show you in a few moments. Therefore, a person should attach himself to righteous individuals, v'leishav etzel hachamim, and sit next to the hachamim, the wise sages, tamid, consistently or constantly, kadei shilmad mimasehem, in order to learn from their actions. The mitzvah to be davuk to Hashem, to cleave, attach, is manifest according to Chazal, according to the Psak, in attachment, familiarity with tzaddikim and the wise. The underlying purpose of this mitzvah is the following. What does it mean to transmit the Torah Shebaal Peh to the next generation? What is the purpose, the original purpose that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, had when He forbade us to write the Torah Shebaal Peh in writing? Art scroll 2,000 years ago would have been not just banned, completely out of the community. There would never have been a chance. You cannot put the Torah Sheba'al Peh in writing. Why? What's the big to-do? And the answer is very powerful. What does the word Talmid Chacham mean? Literal translation. Talmid, student, Chacham, of a sage, of a wise person. What are we bringing attention to when we use this term? Is it complimentary to the person himself? Or we're saying, wait a minute, he's a Talmid of a Chacham. He may be a Chacham himself, but the compliment is where he's coming from. That he has a direct line of Masorah, that the reason why he lives the way and knows the ways he lives is not because of book knowledge, it's because he got it directly from a live human being who lives the Torah. The concept of the Torah Sheba'al Peh is that it was never meant to be put in writing in order to preserve the need to learn from real people. Because if a Jew became a Talmid Chacham from Rabbi Art Scroll, and Chas v'Shalom, I don't mean to put that down, it's a great need in this generation, beyond description, and it's an extraordinary fulfillment of enabling Jews of all walks of life to reconnect to the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the fact that we have an Art Scroll and its equivalents. I'm not putting that down at all. I'm bringing out a very important Nakuda point, that the purpose of the Torah Sheba'al Peh was that we would be attached to real people. If you had the choice between spending 24 hours in the tent of Avram Avinu, and you could ask any question on his lifestyle, if you could spend 24 hours in Moshe Rabbeinu's tent and ask any question on the mysteries of creation, would you need caffeine for 24 hours? No way! You'd be awake the whole time. True or false? If you were in the tent of Sarah Imenu, would you need caffeine for 24 hours to ask her questions? No! Which of the two options would you learn more from? Asking Avraham, Moshe Rabbeinu, Sarah Imenu, any question you want in the entire Chumash, and they'll tell you all the missing information. They'll fill in all the gaps of what's not written, all the latent conversations that took place. Which would you learn more from? The answers to your questions on the text, or option number 2, you're not allowed to speak to them at all for 24 hours. Just watch how they live, how they talk to their spouse about Hagar, how to deal with Yishmael, what's best for Yitzchak, how you see Moshe Rabbeinu deal with a nudnik who turns up to the tent and asks the same question for the 15th time in the last hour. How Moshe Rabbeinu deals with patience with hundreds or thousands of Jews on a daily basis. Which would we learn more from? The first case where you ask questions and they answer from the text and the missing text, or how they live? Which would it be? How they live. Role modeling is the powerful way of Masorah. It always was that way. So the concept here is the following. Even the Gemara in Brachas Daf Zayin tells us that Gedola Shimusha Shel Torah, it's much greater, superior to serve a Talmid Chacham milimuda than the actual learning itself, because that is visual, that is the real thing. Rambam in Hilchos Teshuvah, Perek Gimel, Halacha Aleph, tells us that there are 3 types of Jews. There are actually 2 others, which we'll mention in a few moments, but where it's essentially categorized under Rasha, Beinoni, and Tzaddik. We look through Hilchos Deos, we really discover that the definition of Chacham and Tzaddik are really parallel. They overlap all the time. The reason why Rambam quotes Chazal, who most of the time refer to a Tzaddik as a Chacham, is a very important question. We're going to get to that closer to the end. Why Chazal shied away from talking about the greatness of a Tzaddik. We're going to see very soon. Very interesting. Most of the time, the Tzaddik is referred to as a Chacham. Of these 3 levels, Rasha, Beinoni, Tzaddik, there's a Chacham, which is really parallel to the Tzaddik, and then you also have a Chassid. A Chassid is beyond the Tzaddik. He goes Lifnim Shusatim, beyond the call of duty. Then there's a new term. This term you won't find in Sfarim. Rav Nachman of Breslov essentially is the one that identifies this term. But once we identify it, it fits into why Chazal refer to a certain type of tzaddik in the way that now we're going to look at. So you've got Rasha, Beinani, Hacham Tzaddik, Chassid, and then there's another level, Tzaddik Emes. Emes is usually translated as true or truth. It also means reality. Emes, literally the first and last letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and the Mem juxtapositioned exactly in the middle, denotes that reality must contain the full picture. So a tzaddik emes doesn't mean he's a real tzaddik and other tzaddikim are not real. There's a different level of access to the panoramic picture that the tzaddik emes, so to speak, has, that fulfills the ratzon of Hashem, Hashem's will, on a completely different level than a regular tzaddik. A Rasha, we're told, his Yetzer Hara controls him. The Beinani, sometimes the Yetzer Hara, sometimes the Yetzer Tov. The Tzaddik, the Yetzer Tov controls him. The Tzaddik Emes is on a completely different level. And I'm going to share with you references. The Gemara in Yuma, and you'll notice that almost none of the quotes I'll be sharing with you are from Chassidus. What we're going to discover tonight is that what we are describing in terms of Kivrei Tzadikim, and specifically Uman and Rosh Hashana, is powerfully established, founded in Chazal, way back, starting with Adam and Rishon. We'll see in a few moments. The Gemara in Yuma, Daf Lamed Ches, Amud Beis, Amar Rabbi Eliezer, Afilu b'shvil tzadik echad olam nivra. The world, the universe was created even for one tzaddik. We'll see in a few moments what we're talking about. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, same Gemara. Afilu b'shvil tzadik echad ha'olam miskayim. It's not only worthy to create the universe for one individual who chooses a righteous path, but to even mikayim, to continually keep the universe in existence, it's still worthy just for one tzaddik. And what's the pasuk, the verse that indicates this? Shneimar tzaddik yesod olam. Tzaddik, the righteous individual, is the foundation of the universe. That's a very powerful statement and very dangerous. Chagiga, Yud Beis Amar Beis, Amar Rabbi Yossi, Oy lahem lebriya sheroyes ve'einu yodos. Woe to those who see but don't realize what they see. Oimdos ve'einu yodos al mahen oimdos. They're standing on planet Earth and don't realize what they're standing on. Al ma'omedes. What are they standing on? Planet Earth. And what's planet Earth standing on? Nothing. It's suspended by the gravitational pull of all the planets. The sun, the local solar system. Amazing. All the planets are so perfectly calculated in their location that the planet Earth doesn't just fall. Says Rabbi Yossi, woe that we don't know why the planets are held up in space. Yes, gravity. But says Rabbi Yossi, al amud echad, it's on a column. You can't see the column, this pillar. V'tzadik shemai, the name of this support is the righteous individual. Shneimar v'tzadik yesod olam. Words from Shlomo Melech. The tzaddik is the foundation of the world. So the tzaddik is the one that justifies creation, justifies the continuation of creation, and now we're being told that we don't realize that the constant existence of the universe is not because of gravity. That's only a cover-up. Hashem's ratzon is for the sake of the tzaddikim, but it goes further than that. Moed katan tes zayin amud beis hatzadik goizer v'kadosh baruch hu mikayim. Hashem created a system whereby a righteous individual, we're going to see a few moments, what level are we talking about when we say a righteous individual? Any tzaddik, or there's a very special sug, a very special category of tzaddikim that the Gemara is referring to. Here we have a system where a tzaddik is not only justifying the universe, but now we're being told he's goizer. He decrees, and the Kadosh Baruch Hu fulfills. The question now begs, who's in control? Who's in charge over here? The tzaddik emes is a very important word to understand. The first letter in the Torah, Aleph. The first time it appears in the Torah is in the word Elokim. Reb Tzadok, who quotes the Vilna Gaon in the Gemara, Bava Kama Nun Hey, tells us the first time a letter appears in the Torah, the first time any letter appears in the Torah, at the beginning of a word, that word is the essence of that letter. Aleph, the first time Aleph appears in the Torah, in the beginning of a word, is Elokim. Elokim is mistranslated as God. It doesn't mean God. El means power. Elokim means powers. God is the power of powers. He is the one power that unites all the other powers. Elokim refers to the highest point of spirituality. God is the source of all power. Taf, on the other end of Emes, the last letter, is the lowest point in physicality. The first time the letter Taf appears in the Torah is in the word Toyu. Toyu means empty, void. The experience a person has when they overindulge in Gashmias is, I feel I've shortchanged myself in Ruchnias. I've overindulged. So Taf is at the other end. The Tzaddik Emes is the one that brings HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, down into the lowest points of the universe and reveals HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there as well. Reality means he's got the full picture. But it goes beyond that. The Gemara in Eruvin, Daf Yud Tes Amud Aleph, tells us that Avram Avinu chose not to go to Gan Eden. That instead, he chose to stand at the gates of Gehenna and stop any Jew who was Mekayim his mitzvah. What was his mitzvah? Bris Milah. If a Jew was Mekayim Bris Milah, Avram Avinu stands at the gates of Gehenna to stop him going in. This needs understanding. What's going on over here? Avram Avinu is no longer alive, and yet he's fulfilling a purpose, and that purpose has to do with his life goal, which was to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into the lives of every human being. And that when he was chosen to be the tzaddik that would agenda an entire nation, he took the mitzvah of Bris Milah and refuses to let any Jew who has at least got that mitzvah, that's enough for Avram Avinu to argue, I want to save this Jew because he doesn't deserve Gehenna completely. But it doesn't stop there. I'm going to share with you just a few other Gemaras and put this all together. The Gemara on Shabbos, many of you recently learnt it in the Daf Yomi. Shabbos, Pei Tes Amud Beis. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells the Avos that your children, Chatu, have sinned. Avram Avinu says to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if they've sinned, they have to pay the price. Yaakov Avinu gives a similar response. Only Yitzhak answers back. Amalei liYitzhak banecha chatuli. HaKadosh Baruch Hu tainas to Yitzhak, your children have sinned against me. So what does Yitzhak Avinu respond? Rabbi Shalom, Master of the Universe, Banai, you're calling them my children. Ki'ilu, as though v'loi banecha, they're not your children. Wait a minute. Shpesha shikdimoi lefanecha nasa linishma. Watch the thread. It's the same theme. The tzaddik emes, this real tzaddik which we're describing here, is the one that's consistently looking for the good in every Jew. When the Jewish people said to you, Na'aseh v'nishma, first we'll do whatever you say, we trust you implicitly, then we'll figure out afterwards your reasons. Karata lahem, you then called your Jewish children B'ni b'chayri, my child, my firstborn. So now you're telling me they're my kids and not yours? Achshav banai v'loi banecha, v'oid kama chata, how much did they sin? And now he negotiates with the HaKadosh Baruch Hu that in the lifetime of a person, when you knock off the sleep and knock off the time that we spend on personal needs and knock off parnasa and everything else, Yitzhak Avinu says, how much time do they have to sin already? You know what? You take half of their sins, I'll take the other half. He's negotiating. What's going on over here? What does Hashem want from this caliber of tzaddik? He wants that the greatest tzaddik is the one that looks for the good in every Jew, no matter how far away they are, and lifts them up. But how does he lift them up? By giving them power, or by showing that Jew he has the power. He is already close to Hashem. Let's see which one it is. Eicha Ravasi, paragraph Chaf Dalet. Rachel Imenu pleaded with HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the extent she forced him into a shavua that the galus would finally have an end. Esther Rabbah, Perek Zayin, paragraph Yud, reveals that Moshe Rabbeinu already pleaded on behalf of Bnei Israel that Haman at the time of Purim would not be successful. Moshe Rabbeinu is mentioned many times in this context. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, which is one of the Mizmorim that is attributed to Adam HaRishon, was forgotten, then reconstructed by Moshe Rabbeinu. The Oisius in Shara HaKavanas, Chelik Beis, Stav Memtes, a lot of these Makaras I got from my Rabbi, Rabbi Chaim Kramer, and I also got a number of them from Rabbi Tauba, Rabbi Khan Tauba. They're Bokin Kala Terakula, so don't be impressed by my Makaras. Most of them are not from me. Mizmor Shir L'Yom HaShabbos, the first letter of each of those words, Mizmor, Mem, Shir, Shin, L'Yom, Lamed, HaShabbos, Hey, are the Oisius, LeMoshe. That this Shir is for Moshe. Says Shara Kavanas, very interesting. What does Moshe Rabbeinu do every Erev Shabbos before he sings this song? Shara Kavanas tells us the following. Ki hine Moshe Rabbeinu mishtadel b'zehirus u'b'zvizos. He makes an effort with alacrity, enthusiasm, and he's very careful. Gadol b'chol Erev Shabbos, every Erev Shabbos. What's Moshe Rabbeinu? He's passed away. What's he doing? La'alais kol nitzosos and neshamos. He's pulling out the sparks of souls. Hanitnois be'amkei akripa ve'einam yicholes la'alais b'sham. That are stuck in Gehenna and cannot get out. V'cheina neshama shel b'nei adam atachtoinim. Any person who has fallen that low, she'ein biyadam masim tovim, and don't have masim tovim, enough of their own, to enjoy Shabbos in Gan Eden, haroim la'alos beside ha-tosef Shabbos, hine Moshe Rabbeinu b'chol erev Shabbos, yored hu, he goes down, v'kama rivavosh neshamos tzadikim acherim, with a number of thousands of other righteous individuals, go down to Gehenna, erev Shabbos, asher ba'olam haba, Kol echad kfi b'chinasai, all of these tzaddikim which are in Gan Eden go down to Gehenna, yored umalet haneshama shel tachtonim, and they bring up the neshamas which are below. V'shel hachayim kol oisim she'enam yecholes la'alos ma'atzmim k'nizka. All those are not able to pull themselves up. Interesting. Moshe Rabbeinu is not interested in Shabbos in Gan Eden until he's pulled out as many neshamas from Gehenna to enjoy Gan Eden. All this needs understanding. But it hasn't finished. Soita Daf Yud Amud Beis. David HaMelech, what's his response when his assassin, his own son, Avshalom, he finds out has been killed? Is he relieved? No. He pours out his heart and he cries out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Avi Bani Avshalom, Avi Bani Bani. He calls out 8 times. Asks the Gemara, Hani Tamanya Bani Lama, what does he have to scream out 8 times? My son, Avshalom, my son. Says the Gemara, Shiva da'askei meshiva medurei Gehenna. The first 7 times was to pull him out of each of the 7 levels of Gehenna. Ve'idach, and the last 8th time, da'asya la'al medate, to bring him into Olam Haba. This is the koyach of a tzaddik who's alive. And the Gemara tells us in several places, in Brachos and Chulin, that the tzaddik, when he's alive, is not as great as when he passes on. The tzaddik who's dead has more power to help Klal Yisrael than when he's alive. Tosfos, there on Soita, asks, how did David HaMelech pull out his son from Gehenna? We have a klal. There's a rule. And he quotes Sanhedrin Daf Kuf Dalet, that a child can be mezakeh a father, but a father cannot be mezakeh a child. So how did David HaMelech pull out his kid, Avshalom, from Gehenna? Answers Tosfos that Tefillah Sha'ani, Tefillah has a different power of its own. Val Tefillah Ma'alos, v'David hitpalel al Avshalom. It was David praying for his son. The power of Tefillah has that ability. And we're talking about David HaMelech while he was alive, not when he passed on. Tzaddikim, when they pass on, Chazal tell us, are greater in their ability to help Klal Yisrael than when they were alive. It doesn't stop there. It gets way, way beyond this. Let me share with you. This is not Hasidus over here. This is innovated by Chazal. It's not even an innovation. It's the way the system of the universe was created. We live in one dimension, the physical dimension. Our neshama passed on to the next. The tzaddikim who passed on to the next world are busy helping neshamas that didn't fix themselves in this world. The Gemara in Brachas, very famous Gemara in Brachas, Chav Ches Amud Aleph, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is crying. This makes no sense. Why is he crying? And his Talmidim ask him. He gives two terutzim. The second teretz is the following. He sees in front of him, he's on his deathbed. He's about to go in one of two directions, and he doesn't know which one. In front of him is a path to Gan Eden, and another path to Gehenna, and he's not sure which one he's going in. Rabboni Shloilem, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. The Gemara in Sukkah tells us that of all the Talmidim of Hillel HaZaken, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, the least of the 50 of the greatest Talmidim, knew Kol HaTorah Kula, backwards, forwards, in his whole life. Never spoke Dvarim B'Teilim, never spoke Nivel Peh, never walked 4 amos without tefillin. He was never Mesichtas from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had the schus of being the leader of Klal Yisrael. He established Yavneh. He saved the Torah Sheba'al Peh. How could Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai not be sure? And if we take this seriously, where do we stand? What hope is there for anybody? The Rith. I'm not quoting Hasidus here. This is not an Acharon. This is a Rishon. From the earliest of the Rishonim, right after the Zman of the Goinim. The Rith answers the following. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai had no doubt whatsoever where he was going. He was going to Gan Eden. Gan Eden, no question. But he says there's 2 ways to Gan Eden. One is straight to Gan Eden, and the other is a stopover in Gehenna. And he wasn't sure if he reached the level of that type of a tzaddik that had the power after he dies to go to Gehenna first and pull out neshamas. Let me read you the words of the Rif. That's the Gemara. Hakavana, the intent here is the following. This is the lashon of the Rif. Ki yesh kama rashayim begehenim. There are a number of wicked people in Gehenna she'enam oilim ad sheyavar tzadik echad. They have no chance to have an aliyah to Gan Eden until it comes along a unique type of a tzaddik. The ones who pass through the deep valley, in reference to Shehu Gehenna. Mitakvim sham, and these tzaddikim stay there. Ad yavar derech shama tzaddik. Sorry, the Rishonim stay in Gehenna ad sheyavar derech shama tzaddik, until the tzaddik comes. V'yita, and he uproots them from there, and he takes these neshamas v'oiles imay. He elevates them with him. It's for this he was crying. Will he, when he goes on his way up to Gan Eden, will he be zeicha to go through Gehenna first? There are tzaddikim who are very unique. And what is the difference, that special distinction, that exponentially propels them from a regular tzaddik who shoifet al yitzray to become a tzaddik emes, as we're describing? The ones who are out to save every Jew, not only in his lifetime, but even afterwards. Isn't Avram Avinu already stopping Jews going to Gehenna? What do I need all these other tzaddikim for? Shahar Gilgulim in Hagdama, Islam Ches tells us that every single tzaddik has like a tree, based on a pasuk he quotes from Pashas Ki Tzeitzei, I think it is, Ki Adam Etz HaSadeh. Tzaddik is like a tree, in that it has branches and leaves. The tzaddik is the soil that provides the nourishment to the trunk and the branches and leaves. The Talmidim, or anyone, this is the key here, anyone who had shaykhs to that tzaddik in his lifetime, that tzaddik is now hired, so to speak, to help that Jew even after his lifetime. In the Tikunei Zohar, Islam at base, The tzaddik enters the Gehenna to remove the souls that had a hirur of teshuvah. My Rabbi showed me the makar just very recently. V'imu tzaddik itma beish kisheva yipol tzaddik v'kom. The tzaddik goes down as many times as he has to, 7 times, and then brings up as many souls as he can. Amalei Rabbi Eliezer, says Rabbi Eliezer, Imu tzaddik amay nachis taman. What is he doing going down to Gehenna? Ella begin liib mitaman kol nafsha v'nafsha. He goes down there in order to pull out each single soul me'ilein dehaharu betufta. Each soul that had a hirur of teshuvah in their lifetime. Umeitu, and they died bikatzrus shunin, young in age. It doesn't necessarily mean young in age in terms of years, but young in age in terms of ruchnius. They didn't accomplish what they had to in their lifetime. They didn't do enough mitzvahs. The ihu tarach begine, and he works for them. This is the type of tzaddik we're referring to. I haven't quoted you one source in Chassidus. This is all out of Chazal. The Zayah in Chelik Gimel, Daf Reish Chaf Amud Beis, tells us that the tzaddikim, Rishayim, who have no chelik in the Gan Eden, the reason why they are able to get to Gan Eden because of the tzaddik is because the tzaddik gives them a chelik of their own. On their own, they don't have. The Zohar, in the same place, tells us when the Gemara in Sanhedrin says, Ve'elu, and these are the ones she'ein lahem chelik le'olam haba. Kol Yisrael yesh lahem chelik ve'elu she'ein lahem. And that gives us a list of certain Rishoyim who were not deserving of olam haba. Says the Zohar that tzaddikim have the power to go and take them out too. This list as well. Unbelievable. Not one Jew will be left behind. Where does this come from? The Zohar in Chelik Aleph, Daf Kuf Pei Tes Amud Aleph, based on the pasuk Ve'escha legoy gadol in Parshas Lech Lecha. Avram Avinu gets a bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm going to make you a great nation. Va'avarcha ve'agad l'shmecha, I'll bless you, I'll make your name great. Ve'hei bracha, you will be a blessing. Va'avarcha mevarchecha, I will bless those who bless you. U'mekal elecha, those who curse you, or I will curse. V'nivruchu v'cha, and blessed in you, singular, b'cha in you, kol mishpachos adama, all families of the world. Says the Zohar that all brachas that come to the world go through the tzaddik. Which tzaddik? This level tzaddik. The tzaddik who wants to save everybody. Save everybody in the sense, bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu into their lives, no matter where they are. The Zohar also, Chelik Aleph, in Daf Kuf Pei Gimel Amud Aleph, that the tzaddikim are so great that when they pass on, their merits continue generation after generation. The Kisvi Ari, I wasn't able to find this. I heard this from Rabbi Elchanan Talba. I didn't have time to search for this, for the exact makar, but he told me it's in the Kisvi Ari that the Asara Haruge Malchus, the 10 holy martyrs, their schus was so great that, says the Arizal in the Kisvi Ari, the reason why we mention them on Yom Kippur and Tisha B'Av is because their schus is aroused on those days in order to bring more schusim to Klal Yisrael and to protect us on Tisha B'Av and to push our merits over the side, so to speak, on the side of schus on Yom Kippur. The Zohar in Chelik Gimel, Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Aleph, tells us that if it weren't for the schus of the tzaddikim, the world would not continue for 1 second. Let me share with you, now we're getting to the real point. Unbelievable Gemara in Soita, Daf Yud Dalet Amud Aleph. I want to share with you from the Ben Ish Chai. Ben Ish Chai was a towering Kaddish tzaddik. He was the Baal Shem Tov of the Sfardim. The Ben Yehoyada explains the Gemara in Soita. The Gemara in Soita tells us a long sugya there all about the keva, the grave site of Moshe Rabbeinu. Asked the Ben Yehoyada, Moshe Rabbeinu is buried Bahar Gai, Mul Pa'er, opposite Pa'er. Why is it the Torah tells us no one knows where he is? And even Chazal tell us that expeditions attempted to find out where he was, and they could never find the tombs. It was impossible. Why? Unbelievable answer. Says the Ben Yehoyada. Moshe Rabbeinu was a tzaddik emes. We're going to see in a few moments to what extent. He was so clear of reality. That's what emes means. He knew reality so much that it was absolutely clear to him the power of tefillah. Tefillah is so powerful, it's impossible for a tefillah not to be answered. And if someone, God forbid, dies, and the tefillahs weren't answered, there's no such thing, says the Zohar many times, there's no such thing as an empty tefillah. It's held in escrow. And in that escrow, the person who died but wasn't saved from these tefillahs, those tefillahs will be held in credit for someone else. Let's say a young child. And that young child will now get the tefillahs of that old man who died. That child now gets the sus of being mirapeh because of the tefillahs of the old man, and he lives on the sus of the old man's tefillahs. And that child's mitzvahs now go on credit to the man whose tefillahs weren't answered. There's no such thing. Now that person, the one who passed away, 70s, 80s, he gets the sus of the mitzvahs. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is perfect. There's no such thing as a missing tefillah that doesn't go answered in some way or another. Moshe Rabbeinu knew this, that if you beg enough, you have to get it. And so Parshas Vayischanan, he begged 515 times, let me in. He would not take no for an answer until HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, that's it. Ki v'yit'aber Hashem bi, HaKadosh Baruch Hu persuaded me. Parshas Vayischanan, Perek Dalet, Pasuk Havav, Perek Gimel, sorry. V'yit'aber Hashem bi, Hashem persuaded me. L'manchem, for your sake. V'lo shama elai, he refused to listen to me. V'yoyim Hashem, Eli, Hashem said to me, Rav lach, enough of you. Don't you dare offer one more tefillah. Why? Al toisef daber Eli. Don't you say one more word. Because the power of tefillah is such that if you say one more word, I have to let you in. Because the tzaddik is goizer, I have to be mekayim. If you daven enough, I have to give in. But if I do, you will build the Beis HaMikdash, the Jewish people will sin, I will destroy them instead of the Beis HaMikdash. Which do you prefer? Of course, Moshe Rabbeinu loved us more than himself. He deferred. He refused to daven one more tefillah. Says the Ben Yehoyada, unbelievable. A tzaddik has a power that he can daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for any Jew who comes to him, be it in his lifetime, or even more so when he dies. When a tzaddik dies, there's a part of the tzaddik that remains at the keva, and most people, they go up to Gan Eden, and they don't want anything to do with Olam Hazeh anymore. But there are tzaddikei emes, there are certain tzaddikim who want to save the Jewish people even after they've passed on. Says the Ben Yehoyada, if any Jew were to find the grave site of Moshe Rabbeinu, he could be the lowest Jew in history. And all he has to do is ask Moshe Rabbeinu for one thing. Bring Mashiach. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is forced to let Mashiach come, even though we don't deserve it. So Hashem hid the gravesite of Moshe Rabbeinu. Unbelievable answer. Doesn't stop there. Quotes the Ben Yehoyada, the Ben Ish Chai, not in Ben Yehoyada, quotes the Ben Ish Chai on his Perush to Shemona Esrei. We daven every day in Shemona Esrei in the bracha ala tzadikim, we say the words v'sim chelkeinu imahem, give our chelik with them. Asks the Ben Ish Chai, Rabbeinu Yosef Chaim, who's them? What chelik are we talking about? Unbelievable answer. The Gemara tells us in Sot, I think it's Chaf Beis, that there's such a concept that if a person has v'shalom does an aveira, it will extinguish a mitzvah. But what happens to the mitzvah? Where does it go? It just disappears? Answers the Ben Ish Chai, quoting the Zohar in Parshas Emor, that every single mitzvah we do, if God forbid an aveira is mechaber, extinguishes the mitzvah, it doesn't just disappear. It's like, God forbid, the IRS take money out of the bank account. Now my bank account's not, where's the money? It's not there. But it's not, it doesn't exist anymore, it's somewhere else. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes the mitzvah of a Jew that God forbid he lost from an aveira. Where does it go? It goes in the account of tzaddikim. Tzaddikim use our mitzvahs, and they use them as a schus to ask for other things. Credit for the Klal Yisrael. Says the Ben Ish Chai, when we daven, v'simcha elkeinu imahem, the Ben Ish Chai says, who's imahem? Who's with them? He says, with those tzaddikim who don't want to benefit from another Jew's mitzvah. Instead, they will hold that mitzvah in escrow. They will hold that mitzvah in credit, and when that Jew does teshuvah, that tzaddik will return the mitzvah back to that person's account. Let me give and he gives examples. Daven, that we should ask for a tzaddik who's as great as a Moshe Rabbeinu, and he quotes the Arizal. These are the towering, true tzaddikim. True, not that others aren't, but they're on a completely different level. Totally selfless, not interested in them, only in what they can do for Klal Yisrael. It doesn't stop there. From the time of the creation of the universe, Adam HaRishon was supposed to be the first true tzaddik. He blew it. He wanted to be, but he didn't accomplish it. He tried to from creation. Instead, he wanted to be a BT. So, says the Zohar, quoted in Rav Dessler, he ate from the tree in order to do tshuva afterwards. That's why the first word HaKadosh Baruch Hu asked him was Ayeka, where are you? Are you higher than before? Where Balei Tshuva stands, the tzaddik can't stand, or you're even lower than before. Adam HaRishon blew it. Who was the next one in history who almost won the title of a tzaddik emes? Not a regular tzaddik, even beyond. Eile Toldos Noach. Noach, these are his generations. Noach doesn't tell you his children, just says Noach. Eile Toldos Noach, these are the generations of Noach. Noach. Tzaddik Tamim Haya B'Doraisa. He was a completely righteous individual in his lifetime. Tzaddik, yes. Chassid, no. What's the taich of a chassid? Parshas Mishpatim in the Zohar asks the question, Eizeu chassid? Answers the Zohar, Hamit chassid im koinoi. The one who does kindness with Hashem. Well, Hashem needs someone's help? Hashem set up the system that there are certain tzaddikim who accomplish in their lifetime that they are so selfless, they only want to do Hashem's agenda. And they'll do anything to save the Jewish people, the world, because that's Hashem's true agenda. Noach, when he got the instructions to build the Teva for 120 years, did he go out telling everyone to do tshuva? No, he was a tzaddik, he did what he was told. When he came out of the Teva, the Zohar in Parshas Noach tells us, he saw the devastation. Nothing existed, it was all destroyed. Noach broke down in uncontrollable tears. And he said, Rabbeinu Shalom, why didn't you have mercy upon your creation? And what was HaKadosh Baruch Hu's response? Roya Shaita, you foolish shepherd. Now you're asking me, where were you when I first told you I'm going to destroy the world? Why didn't you beg me then? Let me ask you, who's he blaming? Who's HaKadosh Baruch Hu putting the blame? For those who are still awake. Who's HaKadosh Baruch Hu blaming? Noach. That's why Chazal call the flood May Noach, the flood of Noach, intimating that he was responsible. How did Noach respond? He had good self-esteem. He answered back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He said, I thought of that. I thought of davening for them. But it looked to me that their averos were so far gone that the tefillahs would not have helped. They did not deserve your compassion. Listen to Hashem's answer. You're right. Technically, clinically, you're accurate. You're correct, Dr. Noach. But where's your heart? You missed out on something. You should have prayed anyway, because that's your business. And I would have done what I have to do with your tefillahs. I would have held them off for a future generation. You missed out on that, Noach. So what did Noach do? Perek Ches in Breishis, in Parshas Noach, tells us that he brought a korban to Hashem. And the Reach Nichayach appeased Hashem, this sweet-smelling fragrance. Says the Zohar, what was the sweet-smelling fragrance? It was the tefillahs of Noach. And Hashem said, I'll never bring another mabul. But he blew it. He still lost the opportunity to become the tzaddik he was supposed to become. Who was the next one to hit the map of history and succeed? Avraham. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, wait a minute, Avraham is my tzaddik. I'm going to destroy Sodom and not give him the chance to represent them. He's the attorney for the whole world. So he informs Avraham Avinu in Perek Yud Ches. And what does Avraham Avinu say? You know what? Forget it. All the inhabitants of Las Vegas got no chance. Sodom, got no chance. You know, just wipe him out. No! He starts bargaining and negotiating. That's my man. But you know what's interesting? Even though Avraham Avinu was Zeicher to become the tzaddik emes of his generation and beyond, he still didn't reach the madrega that Kadosh Baruch Hu really wanted. There was one more madrega he could have gone. He could have said, Rebbeinu Shleilam, and if you don't save the Rishayim, then you know what? Take me first. He didn't say that. That was not held as a tine against Avraham, but who did do that? Moshe Rabbeinu. Chazal tell us in Shabbos, I think it's Peites Amud Bes, Ama'ula, Aluba Kala. How shameful of the bride. Shezinta Tachas Baila. That under the chuppah she commits adultery. Who's ever heard of outrageous behavior? Who in their right mind would ever be Michael, ever forgive a spouse who under the chuppah went with another person? It's unheard of. And what does Moshe Rabbeinu say when he finds out about the Chet HaEgel? What does he say? Rebbeinu Shleilam, he starts pouring out one argument after another. He even blames HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You gave them all this money. You overwhelmed them with all the Kesef Zahav. Look at the Gemara Brachas Daf Lamed Gimel. He has a long spiel there of arguments. But what's his biggest argument of all? And if you touch one hair of one Jew, then guess who you have to take first? Maheni no misifrecha. Erase me from your sefer. Whoa. Moshe Rabbeinu is putting himself on the line. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, that's my man. That's the tzaddik I'm looking for. V'salachti kidvarecha. Macheni no is very strange lashon. Macheni no. Macheni, erase me. No, please. Says the Arizal, is the oisius. Macheni is the oisius. Mei Noach. Moshe Rabbeinu was metaken the mistake of Noach. Now we have, for the first time in history, a human being that understood the real intent, emes, the real intent of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to save every single Jew, no matter what. And I'm willing to die. I'm putting myself on the line. But it doesn't stop there. Rabbeinu Bachya, I'm not quoting Hasidus. This is right out of Chazal and Rishonim. But you're going to see soon why it's not popular to publicly describe tzaddikim in this vein. Rabbeinu Bachya says something unbelievable. Parshas Mishpatim, we're told, Moshe Rabbeinu is up on Har Sinai 40 days, 40 nights, no sleep, no caffeine, no coke. Can you believe that? Nothing. Unbelievable. Not diet, nothing. He's not sleeping, eating, drinking. 40 days, 40 nights. And what does the Torah call this malach? Ish ha-Elokim. A man, but is Elokim. Power of powers, in reference to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I mean, is a human being and is divine. Which one is it? It's unbelievable. Says Rabbeinu Bachya, how can he be both a man and yet be described as God as well? So he describes how the purpose of the tzaddik is to bring every human being close to Hashem. He reached a point where there was no Hevdel. Elokim and Adam were the same thing. But he doesn't stop there. Look at what Rabbeinu Bachya says in Parshas Kitisa, in Perek Lamed Gimel, Pasuk Chaf, in Breishis. In reference to Yaakov Avinu, says Rabbeinu Bachya, quoting the Pasuk, Vayitzav Sham Mazbeah, Yaakov established, he built an altar, Vayikroloi, and he called to it, Kel Elokei Yisrael, The powers of the Jewish people. Says Rabbeinu Bachya, that's not the correct translation. The pasuk doesn't mean that Yaakov Avinu called the altar Kel Elokei Yisrael. He says the correct pshat in the pasuk is HaKadosh Baruch Hu called to Yaakov, you are Elokei Yisrael. You are the powers of the Jewish people. Because invested in the real tzaddik is the power to be Geyser, and I have to be Mekayem. If you want to save the Jewish people, you have that power. Rabbeinu Bachya doesn't stop there. It's unbelievable. He then says, quoting the mitzvah of Boi Tidbak, that we have a mitzvah to be davuk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means to be davuk to his tzaddikim, because the tzaddik is the closest to Tzelem Elokim that a human being can come to. The reflection of Hashem himself. Hashem's reflection is in the tzaddik. Says Rabbeinu Bachya, I could never tell you this unless a Rishon said it. Read the words Moshe backwards. Hashem. Unbelievable. This is dangerous information. You know why? I'm going to share with you in just a few moments. Very dangerous. In the wrong hands, one could create a disastrous concept, even a religion, out of these concepts. I will share with you in a few moments what I'm referring to. Yeshua and Kalev, two Talmidei Muvchakim of the Tzaddik Emes, the greatest Tzaddik in world history to that point, Moshe Rabbeinu. Doesn't get greater than that. The lawgiver, Gal Yisrael. Yeshua gets a bracha from the Tzaddik, adds to his name a Yud. Yeshua is confident he will not fall into the trap of the Meraglim. Kalev, a Talmid of Moshe Rabbeinu, doesn't get that bracha from the living tzaddik. What's the next thing he can do? Says the Gemara. Sorry, says the pasuk in Bamidbar Perek Yud Gimel, Parshas Shalach Lecha, pasuk Yud Kaf Aleph. Perek Yud Gimel, pasuk Kaf Aleph. V'yalu they. The Meraglim went up to Eretz Yisrael, v'yaturu, they toured the land, at Haaretz, mimbit masin, ad Rechai, v'lavoi Chamas. They came to Chamas. V'ya'alu, they went up, all plural, b'Negev, into the Negev, v'yavoi, and he came at Hebron, till Hebron. Wait a minute. The pasuk is suddenly inconsistent in the grammar. We've got 12 Meraglim, and suddenly you're talking about he came to Hebron. Says Rashi, who picks up on it straight away, quoting the Gemara, V'yavayad Chevron, Kalev levadai halach sham. Kalev on his own split off from the rest of the Meraglim, went to Chevron, min shtatach al kivrei avos, and prostrated himself on the kvarim, the graves of the avos, shelo yehei nisas lechaveirav livyos ba'atzasam, that he shouldn't fall into the trap of the other Meraglim. Kalev couldn't get the bracha from the live tzaddik, goes to the tzaddik who's passed on. Says the Zohar in Chelik Gimel, Daf Ayin Aleph Amud Beis. Lo yimat sibacha. The Zohar asks, are Jews allowed to go to kivrei, to kvarim of people who are dead and daven? There's a pasuk, which is one of the lavim in the Torah. It's not a drabanan, it's a deraisa. Lo yimat sibacha daresh alamesim. You're not allowed to go seek those who are dead. And the lav refers to going into cemeteries and communicating through dead bodies, spirits of dead bodies. The Zohar is asking the question. Answers the Zohar, unbelievable. The pasuk means daresh lamesim, people who are dead, like Rishoyim. But tzaddikim don't die. They die in the physical world, but in the real world, in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world, not only are they not dead, they're more alive than when they were in this world. To go to the cave of a tzaddik is totally legitimate. Shulchan Aruch, Tafkuf Pei Aleph, in the halachas of Rosh Hashana, Siman Dalet, tells us the minhag of Yisrael is on Erev Rosh Hashana, we go to Kivrei Tzaddikim. I'm going to share with you my last big quote, and then we're going to wrap this up on tonight's subject. This is the background, the introduction, but you'll see where we're coming from. The Gemara in Sukkah, I think, has the most outrageous I'm using that term to bring out the power of the way Chazal talk about this Inyan. The most amazing statement of all. The Gemara in Sukkah, Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar, 12, 13 years in a cave, total solitude with his son. Yachol ani lifta es kol ha'olam kulai min adin. I single-handedly am able to completely potter, exempt the entire world, kol ha'olam kulai min adin, from justice, miyom shenivreiti ad ata, from the time I was born till now. Says Rashi, what does lifta mean? B'schusi, in my schus, ani soivel kol avonei seichem, I can endure, I'll carry everybody's aveiros, upeitran min adin, and exempt them from justice. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai hasn't finished his claim. V'limale Eliezer b'ni imi, if my son Eliezer, Rabbi Shimon, would be with me, two tzadikei emes, totally different story. Miyayim shenivra ha'olam ad achshav, then I would potter from din anybody who has aveiros from the time the world was created till now. He hasn't finished his claim. Vilmale Yosam ben Oziyahu imanu, and if Yosam ben Oziyahu, which Rashi tells us was one of the most righteous of the Jewish kings, would be amongst us with my son and myself, says the Rashbi, Miyayim shenivra ha'olam, I would potter min adin from the day the world was created ad soifai, till its end. Whoa, what's going on over here? There are such tzaddikim? Absolutely. These are the tzaddiki emes, which are not the normal sug of tzaddik. They're way beyond. Their complete and total, utter agenda is for Klal Yisrael, and it starts after they pass on. So why the mystery? If this is really legitimate, if Chazal have really made it clear that there are such individuals with that level of koyach, then how come it's not more known? I was 12 years in yeshiva. I didn't go to one shiur where this was spoken about. There were none of the Sfarim that we learned together that brought out these makaros this way. Why? I think it's a legitimate question. There are three very good answers, and they're very good answers. Number one, mainstream Judaism has, for the past 2,000 years, shied away from the power of these type of tzaddikim for one reason. Christianity stole this concept and totally distorted it. They took one of our biggest Rishoyim, turned them into their biggest tzaddik, and they used the same concepts to say, believe in this one person, whole world will be saved. Mainstream Judaism saw what went wrong if people went and took this and totally abused it. And therefore, these type of makoros put in this context has been not fashionable for a long time. When the Baal Shem Tov came and put it back on the map, the concept of a tzaddik having these koiches, when he put it back on the map, mainstream Judaism, and I'm not here to justify one camp against the other, but we understand this was one of their major concerns, that Has v'Shalom, this should start another type of offshoot religion. That was part of the original Hisnagdus. There's another reason why there's always been resistance to admitting to the greatness of these type of tzaddikim, because there's a psychological fear that if I have to attach myself to a tzaddik, surely that means I'm going to mevatel my entire identity, and now I lose my individuality and I have to listen and do what you say, and I'm not me, I'm just an extension of you. But you know what's really interesting? What's the true purpose of a tzaddik? So Mishlei, Shlomo Melech tells us, Ma'im amukim eitza b'leiv ish. You know what the purpose of the tzaddik is? Not to empower another Jew by taking away from himself and giving it to the Jew. No. The power of the tzaddik, at least while he's alive, is that he helps the Jew see his own power, his own incredible strengths. Says the pasuk, Ma'im amukim eitza b'leiv ish. There's deep waters a mashal of the koach of Torah, wisdom, clarity. And it's an eitzah. It gives advice, guidance, direction. And you'll find it in the heart, the recesses of every Jew. V'ish tavuna, a man of understanding, yidalena. The pasuk doesn't say, we'll feed him. It says, yidalena, will draw out of him this deep water of eitzah that's amuk, deep in the recesses of every Jew. The power of the tzaddik is to empower the Jew by him seeing, I am close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem loves me. And the third resistance to accepting the eitzahs of tzaddikim is brought in Sfarim, that we think that the tzaddikim are going to make such demands on us that it's beyond our ability. One of the classic examples given of how mistaken we are is by Elisha. Elisha, one of the tzaddikei emes, Eliyahu Navi, the Zohar tells us, was on a very similar level to Moshe Rabbeinu. He blew it slightly, but he became the one that makes shalom at every bris, to find the good nakuda and the good point in every single Jew. But Elisha, his Talmud, we're told that when Naaman, the Assyrian general, had leprosy and was told to go to Elisha, so he goes to Elisha and he doesn't even get to meet the tzaddik. The tzaddik sends him a message: the cure to your leprosy, toivel, dip in the Jordan River 7 times, it will be all finished. Naaman is outraged and he starts heading back home. And his young advisors, his own footmen, tell him, look, if this tzaddik told you to do something major, you would have done it. But when he tells you to do something simple, you're complaining, I don't have rivers in Assyria, and I can dip in those rivers, I don't need the Jordan. He's asking you to do one simple thing. It costs you nothing. Check it out. He says, okay, fine. So he comes back, goes into the Jordan River, and he comes out tahor. The reason why this is given by Sfarim as an example, that the tzaddik often will give a very simple eitzah, but it seems so simple, we can't believe it really works. This is the backdrop that I wanted to share with you. Uman Rosh Hashana. I've already hit the end of my time, but those who are still awake, here's the punchline. Rav Nachman of Breslov makes some outlandish, extraordinary claims. Claims that he himself admits that either you classify me as off the margin, and I am what my opponents want to say about me, or you're forced to admit that there's only one way this can be true, that I'm reflecting the reality of how HaKadosh Baruch Hu runs the world, that he gives certain powers to those tzaddikim that want to save everybody. So Rav Nachman made certain claims. One of them was the following. He claims that from the time of Adam HaRishon till himself, all the great tzaddikim tried to find out a certain type of tikkun, a tikkun to a very specific aveira. One of the worst aveiras, the Gemara talks about it in Nida, I think Yud Gimel, of Moshe Zer Levatala, the potential to bring life into the world and God forbid waste it. Rav Nachman said that in his time, at least 1/3 of the world have fallen into this taiva. Today, rampant. Can't even walk the streets of Brooklyn without seeing a newsstand and turning on people the way it's intended to turn on. The world we're living in today, unbelievable. Rav Nachman of 200 years ago made the following claim, that from the time of Adam HaRishon, that when he departed from his wife, Chava, for over 120 years, every tzaddik was looking for the specific kapitel Tehillim that when recited is a tikkun to the spiritual damage caused by this aveira. And he claims that atzvus is the worst outcome of this aveira because it leads to more aveiras. And therefore the biggest tikkun is really to be b'simcha. But that's only the band-aid. He says, if I want to take a tikkun for the spiritual damage caused, he said, of all my Torahs I'm certain, but I'm more certain of this than any other. And he took 2 Eidim. Reb Aaron, who was the Rav of Breslov, and Reb Naftali, one of his main Talmidim, and he made a shvur. That's a very serious matter. He said, of all my Torahs, everything I've ever taught, I'm certain, but this I'm more certain than anything else. The Kadosh Baruch Hu gave me the gift to know the 10 specific psalms, that when they are recited, they will be a complete and total tikkun for this aveira. If a person can go to the mikveh the same day, and then recite the Psalms before sundown of the day that has Hashem, the either Mikra Laila, or if it was Zera Levatala B'Shoigeg, or even B'Mezid, he guarantees this is Tikkun in the Ruchnias. But then he added on that anybody who comes to my gravesite after I pass on and gives a Pruta Tzedakah and says these 10 kapitel Tehillim, I promise, he gives a guarantee that I will do that person a tova in his lifetime, and no matter what that person's aveiros are in this world, I will pull him out of Gehenna from his payas. People have asked me, Rabbi Rietti, your payas aren't that long. I said, don't worry, I'm relying on a very good grip. So, everyone's asleep except me. Okay, fine, no problem. So Rav Nachman makes an unbelievable claim. Number one, to say this Tikkun Klali. He calls it the Tikkun Klali. It's a Tikkun for the entire world. That any person who comes and says this Tikkun is promised that he'll be done a tova in this world and helped to be pulled out of Gehenna. But the other one, which is really Rosh Hashana, is the following. He made the claim start about 3 years before he passed away. He mentioned it several places. Likutei Moharan, he talks about it frequently. But in Chai Moran is where it's quoted many a time. I've got the quote specifically. You'll find it in Sichas Moran Kuf Mem Aleph, Chai Moran, Reish Kaf Hey, and in Taf Hey, Taf Gimel and Taf Vav as well. In the Chai Moran, Rav Nachman of Breslov is quoted saying the following: HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me a gift of Rosh Hashana, that I know the power of Rosh Hashana. Rosh Hashana is Yom Hadin. It's the most awesome and fearful, dreadful, so to speak, day of the year. We dress up and we treat it as a Yom Tov in terms of the way we dress, the way we eat. But essentially that's because we're reflecting our confidence in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's love for us. But the day itself, it really is Yom Hadin. The books are open and the account is exposed, and the Katragim and the defense attorneys are all there. The Katragim has to be quiet on Yom Kippur, but right now it really is a day of justice. I've had all of Elul to prepare myself, getting up early, slichas and extra stock and mitzvahs and ma'asim tovim, but this is Yom Hadin. It's not like a regular Yom Tov. That's why I say to the wives, I try to say it to my wife too, that this is not a regular Yom Tov. There's Pesach, there's Shavuos, there's Sukkot. But this is a Yom Tov that if a person has their aveiros opened up, and it's the Sefer of Chaim and Sefer of Maves, and I have a choice of who I want standing next to me on Yom Hadin. Who would I want standing next to me arguing my case to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? My spouse or the best attorney I can find? Seriously, and I'll ask the ladies, who would you want? Who would you want? Gentlemen, who would you want? You want the best attorney. And even though I may want to appoint myself, and I'll go to any minyan. Hey, HaKadosh Baruch Hu listens to anybody, anywhere, and everywhere. Hashem is everywhere. So why should I go anywhere else? Because this is Yom Hadin. If there is a tzaddik out there that's claiming to be on this type of a madrega, and made the claim 200 years ago that my Torah, my fire of my Torah, will be alive until Mashiach, which is an unusual type of a claim to make, because all that had happened is that his dynasty would just fall away, like many other Hasidus, which are gone and unheard of, and the whole thing would have been a sham. And yet, where does that confidence come from? Statistics, research, or a different connection? So Rav Nachman made the claim that he was given a gift of Rosh Hashana, that on Rosh Hashana, anyone who comes to him on Rosh Hashana, he can do tikkunim, corrections for that person's neshama that he cannot do even if that person came to him during the rest of the year. Rosh Hashanah is a special time. He claims in Sichas Aran that of the 24 Batei Dinim in Shemayim, he has access to all 24. And you know that if you want to get your taxes off and you hire an attorney, you want an attorney who was the prosecuting attorney of the town, who's now gone into private practice. He knows all the people that need to be known, so he can negotiate better terms before even having to come to an actual din. So Rav Nachman claimed he has access to 24 Batei Dinim in Shemayim, and if they don't give the answer that he's looking for when he tainas for a certain Jew, then he says, I'll go to the Melech himself, then I'll go to the king himself. That's the claim he's made. So you have Hasidim, Sephardim, Teimanim, Ashkenazim. You have every type of Jew of all walks of life. Some are Breslov Hasidim, many are not. I would say at least half the people who go to Uman on Rosh Hashana are Sephardim. There are thousands of people, and they're looking for the same thing. Yes, they're mis'ayra, tremendous inspiration from the davening, but essentially, this is a fulfillment of a tzaddik who claims to have been of the caliber that we were describing earlier, that made the claim that Rosh Hashanah was a gift given to him, that he has that right on Rosh Hashanah to represent a Jew. But he said two things. Not only the individual Jew, but as many Jews who come, each one adds to the achdus of the ones who are still there, and therefore the larger the tzibur, so to speak, of those coming for Rosh Hashanah, the exponential growth of how much clout, credit he can leverage in Shemayim with the Kesar, with the Melech himself. So the dogma given to me, the example given to me by one of my Rebbes, Rabbi Chaim Kramer, is that if a person has an attorney who has that type of access, and I have that possibility to hire him, I have to walk into his office and hire him. And that's what it means going to Rosh Hashanah. I'm hiring this tzaddik, I pour out my heart to him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in the schus of this tzaddik, on Erev Rosh Hashanah, that's the minhag of Klal Yisrael, that on Erev Rosh Hashanah we go to Kibbutz Tzaddikim, and then on Rosh Hashanah itself, he takes our tainas to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's much more to be said on this subject, but he made a lot of claims just before he passed away. He was about 38, 39 years old when he passed away, about the same age as the Arizal and also the Ramchal Zal. And he said, Rak shetiyu etzli al Rosh Hashanah yiyeh eich sheyeh. He used to beg his Hasidim, be by me after I pass away. Come for Rosh Hashanah no matter what. And he would tell them, even after I pass away, what I can do for you now is nothing compared to what I can do for you when you come to me after I pass away. Ein davar gadol mizeh miliyos etzli al Rosh Hashanah. He says in Chaim Moran, in Taf Vav and in Taf Gimel, he says, HaRosh Hashanah sheli oila ala kol. My Rosh Hashanah is elevated above all else. Umi shezoich liyos al Rosh Hashanah. He should be extremely happy the entire year. HaRosh Hashanah sheli, my Rosh Hashanah, hu chidush gadol. It's a unique item. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yodea. Hashem knows she'ein adav hazeh b'Yerusha me'avoisai. I did not get this as an inheritance from my father's great-grandfather. His great-grandfather was a Baal Shem Tov. Rak HaKadosh Baruch Hu natan li zois she'ani yodea mahu Rosh Hashanah. Hashem gave me the gift that I know that Rosh Hashanah has a certain power, and that I've been given this ability to stand for the sake of the Jewish people. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your patience, and I will just say that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us the blessing of Yom Kippur right after Rosh Hashanah, so that for those husbands who upset their wives by leaving them for Rosh Hashanah for this awesome Inyan, are able to get Mechila soon afterwards. Ta'amu uru. Taste and see for oneself, ki toiv Hashem. Hashem is only good. And we rely on our tzaddikim to help bring out of us the good that's in us, to strengthen us, that we should be zeicha to contribute to the Gula Shalema B'mhira V'minu. Amen. Thank you. If there's anyone who has any questions, I'll be happy to take them.